Welcome back, race fans, to another episode of Off the Track Podcast, where you get the dirt. I'm Levi Gotze, and we're here at Blue Chip Technologies. And today we've got joining us on the show, Jake Bland. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We were excited to hear that you were coming down and get to tell your story on racing.
Yeah, man. I feel like I got a pretty interesting story, pretty unorthodox path to get where I'm at. It's been a long road, but yeah, got a lot to tell.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We've got a good 45 minutes to hear a good story. So
Cool.
So I guess your father actually raced whenever you were younger.
Yeah, my grandpa and my dad both raced. My grandpa ran street stocks, usually at Bloomington. My dad ran UMP modifieds, I think until I was about 3 years old. I was pretty young. I didn't really remember a whole lot of that. And my mom raced go-karts when she was younger, raced against the late John Andretti. So
Is that right?
I almost feel like I was, destined to get into a race car at some point. But
that's pretty cool.
And obviously, my cousin Jeff raced. He's done now. But then my other cousin Eric Smith, he was in a sprint car for a while too. So I've been around it my whole life. Growing up, being at the track with my dad. But the first time I really remember being around race cars, my grandpa was pretty good friends with Bob Kinser and Steve. And the first time I remember, being in a race car or sitting in a race car was down there at his shop when he was running the Quicker State 11 car.
Right.
And, I remember my grandpa sitting me in it, and that's the first time I remember being around a race car.
Right.
So, that's pretty cool, I think,
absolutely.
to sit in it at, 3 or 4 years old, and here I am driving one. So it's, I don't know, it's pretty wild.
Right. And to be able to sit in the King's car.
The King's car, yeah, the first sprint car I ever sat in, man.
That's
was
cool.
Number 11 Quicker State car.
For me, it was Kevin Briscoe's car.
Really?
So,
5 car?
Yeah, we were, for some reason, in his shop, and I was young. He was like, climb in. So I sat in it, and I was like, oh, this is different, Sat in plenty of late models and bombers, things like that as a kid, but never got in a sprint car until he let me sit in his. But that kind of stuff, you always remember. And that's what, I've always tried to make myself do whenever little kids are around, let them jump in the car. And, I know parents are always concerned that they're going to tear something up, but you're not going to tear up too much. Maybe break a toggle switch off.
Yeah.
So at what age did you decide, hey, it's my time, I'm going to jump in one of these?
Well, I started racing go-karts when I was about 5 or 6, I think. Had a little kid cart. It had like the little weed eater motors on them.
Right.
So I think I ran that for a year or two. Then I moved up to, I guess, what you call just a normal go-kart. I ran that for, probably 2 or 3 years. And, my mom wanted me out of it. We ran a lot of pavement stuff down at Vincent's. I don't know if that track's still around, but started getting, where, you're getting going pretty fast on that pavement, and there's a highway behind that track. And we were going so fast that, at 9 or 10, we're, technically going faster than the cars on the highway.
Right.
And, we're down there, and there's a lot of kids that got hurt or, witnessed some stuff. And my mom, told Dad,
she started thinking about it.
Sell it.
And she used to race cars when she was young, so she knew what you were getting into and the speeds that you guys are traveling on.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand being a parent. You always think racing, no one's going to get hurt. My 2 boys, when they were younger, we had them in some junior sprint cars.
Right.
And the oldest one, he was fast, but kind of like in Days of Thunder, loose is fast. He was fast, but he'd throw it in there and get twisted up, spin out, and flip. No big deal. It had a wing on it, so it wasn't terrible flips. Most of the time, it was just one over, and he was on his side. We'd run out there and get him back over. And he did it twice, I think. Once at Lincoln Park, or not Lincoln Park, but Linton. Yeah. And then over at North Vernon, they had fairgrounds there.
Right.
But the younger one, he was smooth and had his car underneath him,
Right.
But you do worry more for your kids than you do yourself.
Right.
When you're in it, you're not thinking about it, but whenever you have a kid one day, then
they don't understand. That's what my dad tells me. That's what my dad tells me all the time. He's at the track. I have to kind of get away from him because he's just a nervous wreck, And I'm like, man, you're starting to make me nervous, Go over there.
Well, the 410 sprint cars, you guys are traveling at some crazy speeds.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are slinging them in the corner. I have no idea how fast you're going when you guys are entering, but when you're coming off, most of the time you guys are pulling wheel stands down the straightaways. I mean, it's just flat out craziness, really. But I've been surprised how quick they've gotten. I mean, I know sprint cars have always came with speeds. I mean, that's why everybody likes to watch them. And it's just crazy how much faster they've gotten over the years. I mean, I remember whenever World Outlaws come up to Bloomington, I was pretty young, but I think it was that Jack, I never can pronounce his last name correctly, but Hanschild or
Jack Hanschild?
Is that
something
how you pronounce
like that?
it? Yeah. I mean, he set a fast time up there that one year, and it was just like flat out crazy speed.
Never lifting.
Yeah, just hauling mail through the corners. It's like, golly, you guys are nuts.
Yeah. Now the wing stuff's fast, and I think that's the biggest thing is getting to learning to drive them is just getting used to that sensory overload. You know what I mean? Just sit back in the seat, and at least that was the biggest thing for me is just getting used to the speed. It's just at Bloomington too, man. It's the G-forces that you carry around there.
Right.
That's why I hated racing there at first. I remember raced there probably 3 or 4 times. I remember the first time I came in after hot laps and was like, may need to go change my underwear after that. 'Cause, dude, I'm telling you, it's a different feeling. And I raced the 305 in Texas, and I guess we'll get to how I got there, but it's a lot different when you're running real slick and slow tracks, and then you go
somewhere
a heavy if you go to hammer down Bloomington, hot laps that's juiced up.
Yep.
There's nothing faster than that. You'll never go faster in your life. At least it feels that way when you're out there.
It looks that way when you're watching.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So let's here's a story on how you ended up in Texas.
Yeah, man. So I guess I'll just go ahead and give you a little bit of background. Is once they pulled me out of the go-kart stuff, I started playing hockey. So I played hockey from about I think I was like 3 years old to I played all the way up to my sophomore year in college, and I did that, and I always would go to the races, watch Jeff and my cousins and stuff. But it just got to the point where, I was done with hockey. I just didn't want to play anymore. I got tired of waking up every day, just body beat up, couldn't get out of bed. And so, I quit my sophomore year. I was just done with it. I'd done it for, I think, 19 years, I think, is how long I played.
Wow.
And that's when I started to get back into the dirt track stuff a little bit more. Going to races, going with Jeff and his wife when he ran the Burton car. Yeah. And that was cool. You got to see, all the work people put in and kind of behind the scenes in the pits. But I always tell everybody, I started out more as a fan, going and sitting in turn 4 Bloomington, drinking a beer, eating a tenderloin, with my dad. I never thought I'd get back into one. Or get into racing again, but it just kind of sucked me back in as a fan, and it was awesome.
Going with Jeff, he's done a phenomenal job wheeling the Burton car.
Right.
I mean, how cool is that? I mean, Josh Burton made a big impact in the racing, and then you got Jeff to jump in the seat and won some races and done an amazing job.
Right.
And it was really cool to see the car on track. So that would be awesome to be part of that. Even turning wrenches, or even if it was just scraping mud.
Just being around it, man. It was cool to to see how that whole deal worked out, and they won some big races, you know, and it was just fun to go and watch, even when I just sat in the stands and wasn't in the pits.
Right.
So I started watching that, and I started to get that itch, You start to get that itch, and I wanted to race bad, and I was delivering pizzas at the time. I was delivering pizza at the time, and broke college student. I didn't have any money. I really wanted to get in right into a 305 Race Saver, because that's about the time that Bloomington brought them on to the schedule. And I begged my dad, and he wasn't having it. And I think that's the same time they brought the Hornets to Bloomington. So and he's like, how bad do you want to race? I was like, well, pretty bad, pretty bad. I'm itching to get in one. And he's like, well, what do you think about a Hornet? And at first, man, I wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't want to race a Hornet. It just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But, after a couple weeks of thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Sure.
So, we used to own Bland's Record Service up there in Bloomington.
Yeah.
So we got a big junkyard of cars that have been hauled in over the years. And, it's like, how am I going to pay for this? Barely, don't have any money delivering pizzas. And talked my grandpa into, he said, what we'll do is we'll take some of these wheels off these old junk cars and I'll split it with you. And so that's how I got my money to buy my first race car. I think I paid like $2,000 for a Hornet. Ran that a couple of years, but I probably think just like a year. And then I got back out of it because I knew I was going to be moving. So we sold it. But I think it's a good class to get started in, man. It teaches you to race, one, and then, you get in the routine of cleaning your stuff, going to the racetrack. So that's how I kind of got back into it a little bit.
Right.
We sold that, I think, probably my junior year of college. I just wanted to focus on school. But, I'm still going to the races, going to Bloomington every Friday night. And I was just thought, I remember being at a race. It was right before I left for Texas. I got a job in Texas coming out of school. And I think it was a USAC race, and it was Brady Bacon and Brian Clausen went at it. I think Bacon was running the bottom and Clausen was just ripping the top for like 20 laps.
Right.
And I left there thinking, I think I'm dumb enough to get into one of these, and I was like, I think I'm dumb enough to get into one of these. And, I decided, as soon as I got that job and got the first couple paychecks, I was going to buy a sprint car. Yeah. And that's what I did. I moved down there. I think I came back for the first time after a couple months in July, and I saw Chad Baseflug had a roller for sale. And I called him and went up there and looked at it. We worked out a deal. And
nice. Next
thing I know, I'm showing up down at my dad's shop with the sprint car, a roller, and he was pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows my dad. He know how he gets sometimes, and he was not happy. He did everything to keep me out of one of those, and here I was.
Yeah.
He couldn't stop me.
Did he ever run sprints?
No,
when he was racing?
No, he just ran modifieds there for gosh, I think 3 or 4 years. I mean, that was back before the Hoosier tire deals even came around. So so he wasn't too happy to see that thing in his garage, especially with me living all the way in Texas. But I mean, it is what it is, and that's how I got my first one. And I was down in Texas, and I met a lot of good people along the way. I met Nathan and Danielle Moore. They live in Dallas, Texas. They run the Elite Sprint Car Series. It was a 305 series at the time when I was down there, but now it's open motor.
Okay.
But I lived in Austin, Texas, and I lived in a studio apartment, and I had nowhere to keep my car or anything. And so I reached out to them, explained who it was, and I was trying to get into sprint car racing, and they're like, keep it up here. And anybody knows anything about where Austin and Dallas are, that's a 3.5 hour drive from Austin to Dallas, just there, and then you're doing the same thing on the way back.
Right.
But I was fortunate to reach out to them, and I said, so
they made room in their shop.
Made room in their shop, man, and let me stay in their house, sleep on their couch. That's awesome. Whatever I wanted to do, man. It's like I owe them so much. Like I feel like I still owe them because they opened the door for me to get into this. But it's wild. A lot of guys around here complain about having to drive over an hour to a racetrack. I was driving over 3.5 hours just to work on my car.
Right.
And I just think people always talk about doing stuff that they want to do, but they're not, they don't want to go the extra mile,
they don't want to work in.
And, it's just like, I knew I wanted to do it because anytime it came a weekend, I was ready to jump in that truck to get up there. It didn't matter the drive or anything.
Right. He's going to do whatever it took.
Yeah, I was going to do whatever it took. And, just thankful I found them. And, they kind of taught me, a lot of stuff about racing, brought me into the racing community down there, introduced me to people. Fed me, let me stay at their house. I mean, it's just,
that's an amazing deal.
Yeah. And it worked out. And, that's where I, got my first, I think I raced 10 races in 2000, gosh, what would that be? 2017, I think. is when I got my, first laps in a sprint car down there.
Yeah.
I think ran about 11 races.
So I'm assuming their tracks are probably real dry and slick.
Real dry and slick,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are a little bit bigger than here. I would say most of them teeter towards that 3/8 range.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have a couple bull rings, but most of them, man, they slick off quick. They
Right.
slick off real quick, especially late once it gets real hot. But I mean, like I said, man, I didn't know anything. They taught me everything, and it's a funny story I always tell everybody is, I never turned a wrench until I was 22 years old. So I remember being in the shop, and my buddy Nate, he helped me, find a motor to buy down there, and we bought it. And came time to put it in, and we dropped it in, and he handed me a spark plug, and he's like, "Go in there, put that spark plug in." And went over there, and it was late. At least that's my excuse anyway.
Yeah, right.
But man, I didn't even know how to put a spark plug in a motor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I tell everybody. It's like, it's hard enough to learn how to drive one of these things and maintain it, but I didn't even know how to use tools, man. I had to teach myself, how to use tools at age, as silly as it sounds, at age 22, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
Didn't know how to turn a wrench, nothing. Didn't know wrench sizes, nothing.
Yeah.
And they literally taught me from the ground up.
That you can say that.
Yeah, and
I mean, at least you're not acting like
right.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally ground zero.
You've done your homework and you've figured it out, and it sounds like you've set your mind to something that you've made sure that you accomplished it.
Right.
So, I mean, that's most race car drivers, but some race car drivers are a lot more fortunate. Their parents are, spoil them,
right?
Give them a car, turnkey,
right?
Pay guys to fix their car and turn the wrenches for them, and still don't know anything about a car, but somehow can just show up at the track and jump in the seat,
right?
But for you to have to do that much work, I'm sure it makes you probably, I guess, more proud of your position that you're in now. I mean, you've went from Hornets to Race Savers, and now you're in a non-wing 410, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big jump.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, even from, in that first year, I ran a 305 down there. Then they went open motor rule, and I got a 360 to run down there. They don't have too much 410 stuff. So I decided I'd get a 360 open motor. If I wanted to go run some wing stuff, I could.
Right.
And I ran a couple races down there, and it's hard. They had their own stuff going on too, and my dad came down, and the first race of the year is just so far behind. It was just me. I had a guy. I had a guy that was a Wes Bailey. Shout out Wes if you're watching this. Thank you, buddy, for everything. He was an official for the series, but he'd come back in the pits and help me get all my stuff ready to go before I went out.
Nice.
So it's just like, we're just always behind the 8 ball, it seemed. Right. And, I was getting to the point where I wanted to move home. And so, me and my dad talked, and he's like, let's bring your stuff home, let's until you find a job up here, you can just fly up here and race, and honestly,
that's cool.
My diesel bill down there was crazy. Driving, 3.5 hours. It was cheaper for me to catch red eyes and fly up here to race.
Crazy.
So ran a 360 at Putnamville. I think years flying by. 2018. I got to race against Jeff a little bit. That was cool.
That is cool.
So we ran that for I think about 8 races. Then I finally got a job here last year, so I moved up, moved all my stuff back up here, and we got rid of the 360, running with the 410s. You're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. And we went over to, to Steve's and bought a 410 off those guys. And, we ran, I think about 20 races last year, my first year in a 410. And, just kind of did a little bit of everything, man, to get up here.
Yeah.
It's met a lot of people along the way, but it's a long road. I didn't think, you would have told me 4 years ago that, I'd be racing non-wing 410s, with guys like Dave Darwin, all the set guys. Right. I mean, that, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's just pretty wild when I think about it still.
That's really cool though, whenever you think about the guys that you are competing against. I mean, guys that have been doing it for longer than you've been born.
Right, yeah.
Longer than your age is. So how old are you now?
I'm 26.
26. Yeah. So, Darwin's been doing it for well before you were ever here.
And it's funny because I think it was my second race it might have been my first race at Bloomington in a 410. It was in a heat race with Darwin. Me and him went wheel to wheel for a couple laps, and I was kind of like starstruck a little bit, man. Like, damn, that's Dave Darwin, and we're right here with him,
Right.
But yeah, it's surreal, man. Sometimes it's you just a moment like that, just like gotta pinch yourself to remind yourself that you're actually doing it.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
Absolutely. I get it, man. I mean, anytime you're on track with someone that you can that you've watched so many times, whether it was on TV or in person, like anytime we ever hit the track with Kenny Wallace or Ken Schrader, to me, like there's no better feeling than coming around there, getting ready to drop the green, and that you're out there with them just guys. The best of the best. I mean, so to me, that's great memories, And
right.
So you guys were 20 shows in 2019. So
yeah, I mean,
where all were you guys running at? Bloomington?
I mean, mostly.
Well, Bloomington only had about 6 shows last season.
Rainouts and then limited schedule.
Yeah.
We were going to try to do all the Bloomington ones. I just switched to another job this past January, not the same one I had when I originally came back. I couldn't get off on Fridays as much with my old one.
Yeah.
So I think we made two or three shows at Bloomington last year, but mostly was Putnamville on Saturdays, and we went to Brownstown for Fun Fest. So it was mostly Putnamville, usually Lincoln Park, just convenient, close, 45 minutes, and
it's a fun track. I mean, you got a great facility. I mean, Spiker does an amazing job with all his tracks.
Yeah.
Most of the time you got two grooves there,
right?
And to me, that's what's. I really enjoy that place. It does get choppy at times when there's a lot of rain, but the two grooves, when you can watch guys, especially in the sprint cars, go in there, sling it in, throw sliders on one another all the way around that place. I mean, it makes it a great place to watch. I mean, and I believe that's the first place I ever won a race too. So
Putnamville?
Yeah.
Nice.
And my grandpa used to race there a lot before I was ever born. But so I know he won some track championships, things like that, and a lot of victories there. But it's it's a great place to go. There's a lot of good guys that run that place too. I mean, whether it's modified sprint cars or what have you. I mean, it's a pretty sweet place, really.
It is, man.
You go in there, and it's amazing how many fans are at that track.
It's packed every weekend, man.
Absolutely.
Even the pits. I mean, for a local sprint car modified show.
Their pits are nice.
It is too, man.
It's laid out well.
Yeah, it is, and I really feel like they've structured it well, because it's really not that much room. You get looking at it, they just
you look at it from an aerial overview.
Yeah, it ain't much.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's. To me, I always looked at their pits kind of like going to the drive-in. It's just got multiple rows,
rows.
It ought to be easy to find somebody if you need to, but the way they keep everything rolling, they got sprint car staged and line up. You got a clear place to push off, safe, no little kids going around out front on one over there.
Yeah.
But, they've done a real well job, keeping that place going over the years, and we've always enjoyed going. We very seldom make it up there, but it's a nice place.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to learn, or like especially running through holes. Learning how to get around the holes or run through them. I mean, I think it's a good place to learn how to. You're gonna tear some stuff up when it's rough like that. I mean, it's just part of it, but it's a good learning experience too. It's not always gonna be smooth.
Right.
So it's definitely a tough and technical track, and I was really leery to get off the quarter miles. That's kind of this year. I kind of want to branch out, but Dad shuts me down if I want to go to Eldora or someplace like that. Especially first year. Definitely didn't have any business there, but I think, man, I'm eager to go somewhere big, man. I am. Terre Haute.
Big tracks are fun.
Yeah.
Now, I can't say nothing about driving a sprint car. I've never done it, but just. Running modifieds, being on a half mile, there's so much more fun to be had. I mean, it's like you get halfway down the straightaway, you're like, hey, stay in a little longer. Yeah. Now we're getting in the corner.
Yeah.
And you just barely lift at Eldora. I mean, it's a trip. I mean, that place we went up there for World 100 a few years back, and I hadn't been there for 20 years.
Really?
I think is how long it had been. That's crazy. I'm sitting there thinking about that. It was 97 or 98, and I went back in 2017, and I just could not believe how fast them late balls were getting around there. And I was like, man, I wonder what sprint cars are like.
Yeah.
But that place is freaking awesome. I mean, it's a blast. But yeah, you definitely need to get some half miles going. That'd be good times.
Yeah, I mean, I want to.
Terre Haute would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you see all them big rides guys take there, and I get it. I get it, but at the same time, it's like I always try to tell my dad and, the guys that help me, it's just like, man, if you're going to have that thing and you're afraid to go race it, you don't need to have one. I'm not afraid to race it. I'd just like to give it a shot. I just feel, like to branch out and do something, a little bit bigger.
Well, you guys, I don't know how many bad rides you've taken, but the sprint cars, I mean, when they take a nasty one, it sounds bad, it looks bad. I mean, most of the time you can be working underneath your car and really have something going on. Yeah. And you hear one take a tumble, especially at Bloomington, coming off of like turn 2. And rolling. It's just like, oh my gosh, I hope instantly you're praying, man, I hope that guy's okay. Right. It just sounds like the car just, got smashed by like a, something you'd smash a car with, right?
Yeah. Now, I've been fortunate enough. I mean, I took one big one. It's a funny story, too. It's my first year racing. Where were we at? We were out in Lubbock, Texas, way out west. And it was actually the first race that my mom and dad came to watch me. Okay. First race ever seen me in a sprint car. And, they drove all the way out there, man. I don't even know how far that is. But, went through hot laps. Car felt good. First lap of the heat race, man, I made it around turn 3, and Lubbock, I think it's called West Texas Speedway or something along those lines is the real name of it, but it's got a real tricky turn 3. It's very easy to run off the exit of the track going into 3. If you get your right rear over it, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got the right rear over it, got into the wall and ended way up in the catch fence. And didn't help mom's nerves any. So now she don't come anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the only big one I've taken. I've been, you learn to not drive over your head after something like that. It gets expensive. And so that's so I tell everybody it's, you're going to learn something from every crash or every dumb thing you do. It's, I feel like I know my limit, a little bit more now and don't really push it and do dumb stuff that costs you money. And you just,
in your guys' deal, it's open wheel racing, right? Yeah. I mean, you guys have got those monster right rear tires you guys are throwing in there on the guy, and you got to know who you're running against. I mean, but accidents happen. I mean, you guys are wheel action coming off those corners, and I mean, it's going to happen. And you guys push the limit every lap from a fan watching. You know, it's nuts how quick you guys get around the tracks, but. It's got to be scary for your parents, I'm sure, to sit out there and watch. I mean, I can only imagine having a kid and not that you're a child, but their child, sitting there watching. I mean, just every lap you make is just one more lap they're probably glad you got behind you.
Right. So
it'd be tough to be a parent of someone that runs a sprint car every weekend, say 30, 40 shows a season, because there's always that chance of getting hurt.
There is.
And not being able to go to work or having to sit out for a while. But, they know that's what you enjoy doing. And that's, part of making those memories as a family. I mean, it's pretty cool that your mom and your dad raced. I mean, not very many people can say that.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they see my mom now, doesn't want nothing to do with racing, doesn't come to the track, and they would never guess that, and I think that's what a lot of people don't know that, that my mom raced too. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's a neat story.
Yeah.
And then your grandfather ran, and then cousins raced. I mean, pretty big family racing deal, which, that's, the more guys you talk to, there's a lot of families that way, in this sport. And it's just neat to look at different families and see the multiple generations of it. It's, like the Harris family and, you got guys like that, and you know, I think you said your grandpa raced against Poodle.
Against Poodle, yeah.
I mean,
Poodle, I see Poodle a lot. He always comes down to the shop. And,
yeah.
We actually used his Jeep to start the car the other day. We
Yeah.
fired off our first time.
There
So,
you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time around old Pood.
There you go. That's cool.
Yeah.
But you think about how far back they go.
Yeah,
and
way back.
Now you're like,
Yeah.
wow, look where we're at today with it.
Everything's
just crazy, changing all the time, you know. But so what do you guys have planned for this season? Now that the coronavirus has hit, you know, see the tracks are just starting to open up, and where's the first place we're going?
Putnamville Midget Week. They're running sprint cars as a support
That's
class.
coming up soon.
Yeah, so I think today's the first, isn't it?
Yeah, the first.
So that's a little over 2 weeks now. You know, it's hard with the COVID stuff is crazy. First off, I mean, we were planning to run nothing crazy. Planning to run Bloomington, all the races at Bloomington, and then
how many shows is that for Bloomington?
I think
I'm
it's
not
15.
Sure. Nice.
It was
That's
15, but before the virus stuff, the outbreak. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if they're going to reschedule any or.
Right.
We were planning on doing all that, and you know, definitely like Brownstown's my favorite track. So we were thinking about doing the No Way Out 40.
That'd be nice.
And then we actually plan on going there the 20th. So Midget Week ends at Putnamville, Bloomington, and I think Lawrenceburg is where they're at on Saturday. But we're going to race Putnamville, Bloomington, Brownstown, 18th, 19th, 20th to start off the year.
That'd be a good way to start the season off.
Yeah, and you know, it's hard going back to back nights.
Yeah, staying out of trouble each
Staying
night.
out of trouble. I mean, it's expensive little run there for 3 days of straight racing. And
yeah, just fuel costs.
Fuel cost and tires, depending on, you know, Bloomington can take rubber some nights. Took rubber last Midget Week. We spent a lot of money on tires because by the time we got out there, it was already laid down.
Right.
But, you know, one thing that we were trying to keep in mind this year is, you know, we put about 20 races on our motor last year. And, I you know, a lot of people from fan standpoint are like, well, why don't you go race every weekend, you know? Well, I got about, I mean, from what we've guesstimated, probably around another 20 races max to put on this. So, you know, our biggest thing this year is, you know, we want to start out with the bang, but we don't want to get too crazy with it. You know, you know, if you grenade that thing, you know, it would sideline us for quite a while. So this year, you know, really going to focus on Bloomington after this, you know, this first week we get rolling. But just got to pick and choose your spots, man. I want to be able to run some, you know, some USAC stuff too. So I'm definitely going to run when they come to Bloomington. But we'll just see what we got left, and, you know, depending on what we tear up and what the budget looks like.
Right.
You know, maybe branch out away a little bit, but mostly, like I said, mostly Bloomington and Putnamville and Brownstown, just like last year.
Well, that's good. You know, you're not traveling like crazy distances.
Right.
You know, you're staying pretty close to home. I'm assuming you live somewhere around Bloomington.
So I actually don't. I live up a little north of Bargersville.
Oh, okay.
Because I work in downtown Indy. Well, I did. I work from home now.
Yeah.
But I did work in downtown Indy. So Bargersville, South Greenwood area kind of splits the difference for me. It's about 45 minutes to work right downtown, and then, you know, about 45 minutes to Bloomington. So I mean, it works out, especially for somebody it's, you know, down during the week, you know, to work on the car, and then, you know, coming down again on the weekend to race. So, you know, it makes it a little bit easier, not being all the way up in Indy, but splitting the difference. It's worked out well for me. And now I think, you know, I've been fortunate enough. I think I'm going to be remote full time now, you know, after this coronavirus deal.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we work from home so long, you know, my managers just, you know, they're letting people, you know, work from home. So I am, you know, I'm looking at moving down this way, actually.
Well, there you go.
You know, want to get some land and
so
kind of get out of the neighborhood feel.
You keep the car at your place.
Yeah, so we keep it at the old record shop down there, I guess, off 2nd Street in Bloomington. So that's, you know, like I said, just come down here, keep it up on a rack there.
Is that over there close to Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yep, right across from the old Sportsplex there, the rec center.
I thought you guys used to have trucks over there.
Yeah, right down, just right across from it, man.
There you go.
That's where the junkyard's at, and that's where the shop's at. So that's where she stays during the week. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of stuff, man. It's neat having that rack to lift it up. It makes it easy. You don't have to put the car on stands or nothing. It
makes life a lot easier.
A lot easier, man. You get up underneath it.
Right.
You know. but yeah, it's just convenient.
It's a lot better than driving 3 hours in Texas.
Man,
in the heat
you're telling me.
to get somewhere to work on it. Sleep on a guy's couch to go back and work, and I'm sure.
Yeah,
a lot easier.
Don't have to pound energy drinks and coffee to make it home. And I don't miss that at all.
Well, tell us a little bit about who all's on the car and helping you guys this season as far as sponsors.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and tell you a little bit about, the guys that I got that helped me, during the week. And, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. One is Butch Mundy. He pretty much does, he makes all the calls on what we do. And, he looks over the car. He's helped me put everything back together, unfortunately.
Right.
And, he's a great wrench, man. I don't know what we do without him. And not only is he good with all that stuff, but man, we just have a good time. That's what I love about working with Butch is we just have fun, man. We go run, 20th or not transfer. We're still going to have fun.
Yeah.
And
making memories.
Making memories. And, it's just, I know that, I can trust him. He's going to make sure I'm safe. And there's no better feeling than having somebody like that on your team, man. It's just I can trust him, and I know he's not gonna put me in any bad situations, getting the car real tight, or getting it where keep that left rear on the ground, He's just we've slowly went a little bit less reserved with our setup, and just trusting him, and he's made me way faster.
That's good.
Way faster. And with him, I have my cousin TJ Lamb. He comes with us. Comes down, helps me, mount tires, works on the car week to week with Butch, and without him too, it's like, got to have him to help, Butch can't help me do everything,
Right.
And,
it takes a full team.
Yeah, full team, man. And, I'm just fortunate enough that those guys, take nights away from their family to come work on my stuff, and it's, I'm so thankful for them. If I didn't have them, I'm still learning as I go. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a sprint car master or anything.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't be able to do it without them. Butch's technical expertise, and then TJ willing to drop everything to come over to the shop to do stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's, and then obviously my dad, call him our race director because he likes to have a say in everything.
Yeah.
So, all four of us, I think we make a good team, and I wouldn't, be able to do it without my dad's help. And then, those guys, they do so much for me.
Yeah.
But that's my crew. We have a good time.
That's good.
We just live it up, man. It's almost, I see guys that get real intense and real mad at, and I get that, a lot of guys, this is their life. They run, they run to put food on the table, especially the USAC guys, a lot of them. So I get that, but keeping it light and stuff, it makes it just better, just a better
lot more
time.
enjoyable.
Yeah. And I, when I was younger, I used to get all bent out of shape and stuff. You just can't, man. You can't. It's like racing is so highs and lows. It's so extreme. One night you can be on top of the world.
Yeah.
Next night, you know what I mean? You're looking at a junk race car.
Yep.
Just, man, you just got to take it in stride. And that's what we do.
Just
one race at a time. Yeah.
Some people don't, some people do, but it's something that you try so hard to do your best, and when you're not on top, like you were saying, it drives you crazy. You want to do better, and you don't want to look bad. You don't want to make your friends that are helping you look bad. So it's tough. And then in the division you guys are running in, you got guys with experience that have these guys turning wrenches on the car with setups that have been doing it for years and years. So it's not like it's an easy challenge.
No, and it's just constantly changing too.
Right.
It's like you see somebody, it's like shocks, man. You see somebody show up with new hot shock setup, goes out, wins. The next thing you know, everybody's got the new shocks that cost $2-3 grand to get them. The gas shocks are the hot thing now.
Yeah.
But just constantly evolving, man. Constantly evolving.
Well, do you got time to tell who all your sponsors are?
Yeah, man. I got plenty of time always got time for that.
There you go.
Bobcat came on board. Bobcat at Ellettsville now. It was Bobcat at Bloomington. They just opened up a new a shop over there in Ellettsville. They're a big help, man. Rhett Dallas and everybody over there has been really supportive of me and racing. And, actually they were my first sponsor when I moved to 410s.
There you go.
So very thankful for them, man. They've done a lot for me. And, you know, hopefully.
Well, it sticks out good on the car.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say that.
Seen it, yeah.
I seen it on Facebook the other night, and I thought, well, you'll be able to see that from the stands.
Yeah, red and orange.
That's good.
Yeah, man. So I can't thank them enough for all their help, especially Rhett. You know, he's always around, comes to the track, hangs out with us. You know, just good to have them on board. And, you know, I also got Auto Credit. It's my dad's car lot down there.
Yeah.
Right by Baldy's Pizza in Bloomington, right there by the track, actually right there at the corner at the light. So, you know, just, you know, thank my dad for helping me out, you know, too, and putting his name on the side of the car.
He's always got good looking vehicles set up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
He don't keep a huge selection, but the selection he has is like nice. You can tell.
Right.
I mean, it's a good spot too.
Yeah. I mean, it gets a lot of traffic through there.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I just feel like everybody needs a car, right?
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So, let's see who else I got. My cousin Jeff Bland, man, he's helped us out a little bit. B&B Auto Brokers.
Yeah.
You know, from coming down when I first started to help me work on stuff to, you know, once he, you know, kind of got out of it, you know, getting stuff off of him.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big help, you know, to have around.
That's good.
So, you know, can't thank them enough. And got AJ Bolin, who's a realtor all over Indiana. He actually helped me get my house. You know, great dude. Even, you know, he really helped us out. He's on the car this year again. He was on it last year. You know, got Indiana Auto Detail, best detailers in the business. Give them a call for all your detail needs. Out of Smithville, right there. It's actually one of my cousins.
Yeah.
Just runs it out of his little garage on the side over there.
Nice.
Does a great job. Buff work, wax
It's
work.
that time of the year. Everybody's wanting to keep their vehicles
interior
look good.
detail. Yeah, anything you want.
Especially after you go to Bloomington, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta go get the car cleaned the next day.
Yeah. You know, and I guess lastly, you know, just thank Craig, Mikey, and Steve, all the guys down there at Steve Kinser Racing. Anytime I need a part, man, they you know, they take good care of us. I can go down there and get any of their, you know, buy used stuff off of them, and you know, they really help us out. You know, if I need something, I can, you know, count on them to either order it for me or you know, they may have it laying away somewhere down there.
That's great.
So it's nice to have them as a resource too.
Yeah,
And they, like I said, they've done so much for me over the years. Even when I, you know, lived in Texas, they made sure that I could get parts shipped and stuff like that. So I, you know, always got to thank them because, you know, they've helped me out so much. So
that's good. They come from a lot of experience in the
man.
So
That's you go down there.
Any tips you can get, it's got to be good too, right?
Yeah, it's and you go down there and you just, you know, you see all the checks on the wall, you see the trophies, you know, you see the old parts, and got the old Valvoline car up top on display, and it's just, you walk in a place like that and you just, you know, all the history and all the, you know, all the cars that came out of that stable to win, you know what I mean? The biggest races in the world. It's just, you know, you just sometimes you forget that, you know, when you walk in there. But man, a lot of history out of that place. Yeah. So it's neat to go in there.
Yeah, they you know, Steve and I guess it would have been Mark, they used to, you know, be around our area quite a bit here. And it was, you know, always neat to see the rigs as a kid going up the highway or whatever. And even still today, when I see Craig's rig rolling out, even his t-shirt truck and trailer behind his main rig pulling out and heading north or something, it's like, man, where are they going now, you know? But it's cool that he's able to follow in his dad's, you know, footsteps and be able to do what he's dreamed to do. I mean, sprint car racing around here, I mean, we got some of the best right here around us, you know. It's cool. But when you think about the Kinsers and the Briscoes and, you know, the Gaines and all these guys, I mean, and then here you are following these guys around the track, and I mean, it's got to be intense. So
yeah, it is, man.
Well, is that pretty much everybody you'd like to give thanks to?
Yeah, it's pretty much everybody, man. Like I said, I couldn't do it without the people around me, and then, you know, the people that helped me get here, people in Texas. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at without a lot of generous people, you know, willing to go the extra mile for me, and just forever thankful, man. I wouldn't be here without them. Yeah. So,
well, it's good you got that group, and we wish you guys nothing but good, safe, fun racing for this 2020 season.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully we manage to get all 20 of our races in that we want to do, maybe
I
more.
Hope so.
We'll see how it turns out. You never know, man.
These tracks get fired up. The fans are going to be packing the place. Everybody's going to be ready for it.
Yeah.
So, Brownstown got one of their first shows in last weekend. So just a few days ago. Hopefully they'll run, this coming weekend. We'll see. But hopefully Lincoln Park will get rolling here soon. And Bloomington. I'm definitely excited to see some sprint car action up here at Bloomington. So, well, we appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Cool. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's cool to come down here and see what you guys got going on. And it's just awesome. You got an awesome shop here, man.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We really do. Well, that concludes another episode of Off the Track. If you have not already liked us, give us a like on Facebook. You can check us out at bluechiptech.net. Be sure and tune in next Wednesday night for another show. And we appreciate everybody viewing. If there's anything we can do for you guys, give us a call at 812-807-7050. Thanks, and have a great evening.